The midday sun beat down on Redbush, a community nestled in the rolling hills of St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. The air hummed with the lazy drone of cicadas and the distant rhythmic thump of reggae from Miss Ruby's shop. In Redbush, everyone knew everyone, and everyone knew everyone's business, especially with the likes of Delroy, the informer, around. Delroy, a man whose eyes missed nothing and whose tongue missed no opportunity, sat on an overturned paint bucket outside the shop, seemingly engrossed in shelling peanuts. But his ears were tuned to the hushed tones of Misty, the talebearer, who was currently regaling a small audience with the latest news. Me here say Carmen Brown been seen with a new fella, a town man, light-skinned too. Carmen Brown, known by some as the community mattress, due to her generous nature and ever-changing romantic affiliations, was a fixture of Redbush. Her laughter was as free as her spirit, and her reputation, though whispered about, was never truly condemned, for Carmen had a heart as big as her personality. Nearby, Godwin the drunkard swayed gently under the shade of a mango tree, a half-empty bottle of white rum clutched in his hand. His usual chorus of slurred philosophical musings was absent today, replaced by a quiet, almost mournful hum. Even through the haze of alcohol, Godwin felt the pulse of the community, and today it felt tense. Inside the small humble church, Reverend Palmer, a man whose face carried the weight of his flock's sins and hopes, polished the communion chalice. He was preparing for the weekly prayer meeting, a sacred ritual in Redbush. He knew about Carmen, about Delroy, about Godwin. He prayed for them all, even for fool Rodney Bruce, a man whose antics were legendary and whose mind seemed to operate on a different, more whimsical plane. Rodney was currently attempting to teach a stray goat to play dominoes by the roadside, to the amusement of a few passing children. Sister Beryl, the epitome of church holiness, bustled in, her starched white dress rustling like dry leaves. "Reverend, you see how much sin agwan in a de community? Dem boy Delroy and Misty a spread bare gossip, and at Carmen, Lord have mercy." Reverend Palmer sighed. "Sister Beryl, we are all sinners in need of grace. Our task is to guide, not to condemn." He knew Beryl meant well, but her fervor sometimes blinded her to the very humanity she sought to save. The peace of Redbush was about to be disturbed, not just by gossip, but by a shadow from the past, and a new threat. Sir Joseph James, the billionaire who had left Redbush decades ago to make his fortune abroad, was rumored to be returning. And with his return came the stir of old wounds and new ambitions. Hear dis, Delroy exclaimed, abandoning his peanuts as he saw the dusty outline of a fancy car approaching. "Sir Joseph a come, and me hear him want fi buy up all de land by de river fi build a big resort." This news spread like wildfire. The land by the river was sacred to many. It was where their ancestors had toiled, where their children played, and where the ancient gnarled cotton tree stood, believed by some to hold the spirits of the old ways. Casper, the community's diligent police officer, drove by slowly, observing the gathering crowds. He knew Sir Joseph. He also knew that where there was big money, there was often big trouble. He made a mental note to keep a close watch. Old Garth, the wise man of Redbush, sat under the shade of the ancient cotton tree. His eyes, though clouded with age, saw deeper than most. He had witnessed generations come and go, seen prosperity and hardship. He knew the land held more than just monetary value. "Money can build a house," he murmured to himself, "but it can't build a home." and it can buy back what is lost. As the fancy car pulled up, a sleek, dark vehicle that looked out of place among the brightly painted wooden houses, a figure emerged. Not Sir Joseph yet, but a sharp-suited man with an air of authority. He began to make inquiries about land ownership, offering sums that made some villagers' eyes widen with avarice. The crossroads. The community was divided. Some saw the resort as a chance for jobs, for progress, for Redbush to finally catch up. Others, like Garth, felt a deep sense of foreboding. Reverend Palmer called a community meeting. "We must discuss this as one," he urged, his voice resonating with his usual calm authority. "What does this mean for our children, for our heritage?" Sister Beryl, surprisingly, was torn. She saw the potential for the church to grow with new money, but she also felt the sacred pull of the land. Then, a new presence emerged from the shadows of the old sugarcane fields. Dirty Frock, the Obeah priest, a man rarely seen in daylight, made his appearance. His clothes were ragged, his dreadlocks matted with age, and his eyes held an unsettling glint. He rarely interfered in community affairs, but the talk of selling the land seemed to have stirred him. "The spirits now happy?" Dirty Frock announced, his voice a low rumble that sent shivers down some spines. "That land is consecrated. Fee sell it, is fee invite trouble." His words added a new layer of fear and superstition to the debate. Even the most devout churchgoers paused, remembering old stories of Obeah's power. Sir Joseph James himself finally arrived, a man impeccably dressed, his face etched with success, but also a certain hardness. He addressed the community with promises of development, schools, and clinics. He spoke of giving back to the village that raised him. "I envision a new Redbush," Sir Joseph declared, his voice smooth and persuasive. "A place where our children don't have to leave to find opportunity." He presented a grand architectural drawing of a luxurious resort, complete with swimming pools and manicured gardens. Fool Rodney Bruce, surprisingly, stood up. "But Sir Joseph," he asked, his usual silliness replaced by a rare moment of lucidity, "where de mango tree go, and de river where we cool we foot? Dem na in a de picture." Sir Joseph paused, caught off guard. Those would have to be relocated for progress, my friend." A murmur went through the crowd. Rodney's simple question had cut through the grand promises, the unraveling, and the redemption. The debate raged. Delroy, seeing an opportunity, began to spread rumors about which villagers were secretly accepting money from Sir Joseph's agents. Misty, of course, amplified every whisper. Godwin, usually oblivious, suddenly staggered forward, his eyes bloodshot but strangely clear. "Sir Joseph," he slurred, pointing a shaky finger, "you remember when you promised fee help me father with him land paper? Before him dead, you disappear, and dem take him land." A hush fell over the crowd. This was an old, festering wound, a betrayal from Sir Joseph's youth. Sir Joseph's face flushed. Old Garth slowly rose, his staff tapping the ground. "Sir Joseph, a man's word is his bond. And de land holds more than just crops. It holds our stories, our ancestors. It holds the spirit of Redbush. To sell it is to sell our soul." Just then, Casper, the police officer, who had been quietly investigating, stepped forward. "Sir Joseph, I have some documents here. It appears some of these land deeds were acquired under questionable circumstances back when you first left Redbush, and some of the offers you're making now are significantly below market value, even by your own company's internal appraisals." The air crackled. The image of the benevolent billionaire began to crumble. Carmen Brown, who had been listening intently, walked to the center. Her voice, usually light-hearted, was firm. "Sir Joseph, you came here with pretty pictures, but Redbush is more than pretty pictures. It's people, it's family, and if you truly want to give back, you start by fixing what you break, not by breaking more." Her words, direct and honest, resonated. Even Sister Beryl nodded slowly. Reverend Palmer stepped forward, his hand resting gently on Garth's shoulder. "We are not against progress, Sir Joseph," he said, his voice calm but powerful. "But true progress must honor the past, sustain the present, and protect the future. It cannot be built on deceit or the destruction of what makes us who we are." Dirty Frock, who had been watching silently, raised his hands to the sky. "Dis-spirits here," he intoned. "Dis-spirits demand justice." Sir Joseph looked around at the faces, the disappointment of Carmen, the anger of Godwin, the wisdom of Garth, the unwavering gaze of Reverend Palmer, the fierce loyalty of Sister Beryl, the unexpected insight of Fool Rodney, the calm authority of Casper, the knowing silence of Dirty Frock, and the eager, watching eyes of Delroy and Misty, ready to report every detail. He saw not a docile community ripe for exploitation, but a resilient, interconnected web of life and history. He saw, perhaps for the first time in years, the Redbush he had left and the man he had become. A long silence stretched. Finally, Sir Joseph sighed. Perhaps I have forgotten a few things about Redbush. Perhaps I was wrong." The confession hung in the air, a stunning admission from a man of his stature. It wasn't a complete surrender, but it was a crack in the hardened facade, a glimpse of the boy who once played by the very river he now sought to pave over. The seeds of a new beginning. Over the next few weeks, things shifted in Redbush. Sir Joseph didn't abandon his plans entirely, but he began to listen. He met with Garth, with Reverend Palmer, with Carmen. He even offered to help Godwin get his father's land records straight, a gesture that, while belated, meant the world to the old drunkard who, for a time, found a new reason to stay sober. Delroy and Misty still gossiped, but their stories now included Sir Joseph's surprising change of heart. Sister Beryl prayed for him, hoping for genuine repentance. Fool Rodney Bruce went back to his goat, but sometimes he'd sit under the cotton tree with Garth, listening. Redbush didn't get a gleaming out-of-place resort. Instead, discussions began about a more sustainable future. Eco-tourism that honored the river, small businesses that empowered the locals, and the preservation of their cherished land. Sir Joseph, humbled, began to invest in the community in a way that truly benefited them, not just his bottom line. The community of Redbush, with all its flawed, vibrant characters, had faced a challenge, and through their collective voice and individual strengths, had found a way forward. The spirit of Redbush, rooted in its land and its people, remained unbroken, perhaps even stronger than before. And as the sun set over St. Elizabeth, painting the sky in fiery hues, the ancient cotton tree by the river stood tall, a silent witness to the enduring heart of Redbush.